This is baby Eleanor Joy, and I am so excited. She is actually almost 4 weeks old. She will be 4 weeks old on Thursday. She arrived 11 days before her due date. She was our earliest baby and our littlest baby. She was so cute. I think she was 7 pounds 9 ounces. My firstborn child, our daughter Amelia, was 9 pounds. So she was so little and petite. Big for a 38-weeker, but our smallest baby so far. So I wanted to make this quick video for you guys because you guys are awesome and I really appreciate that you have followed along with my pregnancy journey, and I haven't made as many updates as I would have liked, but we actually launched a brand new business. So my husband and I have been freelancing for 2 years. We fully replaced his income in our first year of freelancing, and in our second year we made over $100,000, $104,000. It was the first time we cracked 6 figures, which was really nice. It was really exciting. But then just when I was pregnant with Eleanor, we launched a brand new business, which is really exciting, but it just meant that I didn't have time to be making these videos. We really had to focus on getting the business launched and getting things cracking along. And we actually had a call, well, not me, my husband Steve had a call with a client the day after she was born. And so he has just come on board for a new campaign, which is really, really exciting. And another client we're meeting with on Friday to talk about his project as well. And so it's really exciting. There's just a ton going on, and that's why I haven't made a video and she is 4 weeks old. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into my birth story. I'll obviously put together a birth video and share it eventually on the channel. It is going to be a while in the making though, because her labor was super quick, just like Joseph's was. So my first labor with Amelia, if you've seen my birth videos, you'll kind of have a bit of backstory. Joseph's birth video got removed from YouTube for being inappropriate content. So I actually have to edit that a little bit and re-upload it. But Amelia's birth was a regular first birth. It was a total of 21 hours, lots of kind of early labor, and then I think her actual birth, the active labor part, only counted as like 4 hours of active intense labor. But it was like, it was a long birth, a lot of labor. And then Joseph's was super quick. So I had 2 weeks of pre-labor with him. I kept calling the midwives out going, I think I'm in labor. And the funny thing with his birth was that I was dilating. So every time the midwives checked me, I was dilating. The last check I had with him, I was 9 centimeters dilated, but I was not in labor. It was really, really bizarre. So with his birth, we knew that it was going to be quick. Like, she'd done a cervical check. She's like, you're basically fully dilated. Like, when you kick into labor, you're going to be in labor and it's going to happen really quickly. With Eleanor, you're so sweet. I actually started. So my pre-labor started at exactly 37 weeks, which is really bizarre because the same thing happened with Joseph. Exactly 37 weeks, I started with pre-labor, and it was not Braxton Hicks. It really bothers me that everyone's like, Braxton Hicks. It was distinctly different. So I've had Braxton Hicks my whole pregnancy with Eleanor. From 27 weeks onwards, I was having Braxton Hicks with Eleanor, and they were distinctly different from what was happening. So from 37 weeks, so 10 weeks I'd been having Braxton Hicks. For 10 weeks of my pregnancy, I had Braxton Hicks. But at 37 weeks, so full term, I started having pre-labor. And I mean, this is like really distinct. So it doesn't hurt, but there's a real pattern to it. There's a real consistency. Like every 5 minutes, every 3 minutes, I'd be having, like, my entire tummy would go rock solid. They were proper contractions. They just didn't hurt. And so that happened for 8 days. And on the I can't remember which night it was. So my birthday was on September 30th. I've actually got a journal. This time I journaled because I was wondering whether it would happen similar to Joseph's birth. And Joseph's birth, honestly, the whole 2 weeks now is a blur. At the time I was like, oh, this happened and then this happened. But now, I never recorded it, so I don't really remember the timeline. So when I started getting this pre-labor, I actually started journaling through the whole thing. So I'll share that on my blog eventually when I share the birth video. But basically, my birthday was on September 30th, and I started having quite a lot stronger labor. And I thought, oh, maybe she might come on my birthday or very near to my birthday. And then I called my midwife out. She did a cervical check and there was no dilation. So I'd already had, these six days, I think, of pre-labor by that stage. And there was no dilation. She was like, no, the cervix was still it was lowering, but it was still fairly high. It was still fairly thick. There was really no dilation. And that was what I'd got as well, because I do my own cervical checks, because of the weirdness of Joseph's labor of slowly dilating. I was able to do my own cervical checks, so I actually have a pretty good understanding of how much dilated I am. And so it was funny because I'd actually already done my own check, and then I got my midwife around to do a cervical check, and I was like, yeah, that was what I thought. So I had all that pre-labor, and I really thought that day I got to the point where I thought, you know what, I think this is actually going to be the day that she comes. It got quite intense by the evening. I was using my TENS machine. I was moving my body through contractions. I was breathing I was really having to focus. And I was also using mantras. I have this hilarious one that I use internally, and I would just say to myself mentally, I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, I ought to be in Hollywood. And it's a very odd phrase. It actually comes from a challenge that I did a long time ago. It was after Amelia was born, and it was this mental toughness challenge, and it was to hold the plank for 10 minutes. And the guy that was running it, he's a Navy SEAL or an ex-Navy SEAL, and he said he used to use this phrase, I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, I ought to be in Hollywood. It's got a good kind of rhythm to it, and that is a mantra that I use to hold the plank. And it was funny because I was really disappointed because I didn't hold the plank for 10 minutes. I only held it for 7 minutes. And the next day, I literally couldn't move. And I was talking to my husband, Steve, about it, and I was like, I don't understand. Oh, I did the plank yesterday, and I told him, and he's just staring at me, and he's like, you held the plank for 7 minutes? I was like, yeah, but I didn't get 10 minutes. And I was so disappointed I hadn't hit the 10 minutes. And he just kept shaking his head and laughing. He's like, I've never held the plank for more than 3 minutes. I don't even know how you did that. And so to me, that phrase and that mantra was a reminder of, I've got this. I'm strong. I can do this. That's why I was using that phrase with the contractions. It's what it meant to me, not just the rhythm of it. So anyway, that's just a little bit of backstory on that. But nothing happened. So those contractions were quite strong. They stayed strong until 4 a.m. and then they just died off. And then nothing happened at all the next day. And then finally on the 3rd of October, that's the day she was born, the same thing happened. So the contractions picked up and I was like, oh, okay, I'm using my TENS machine, I'm focusing, I'm using the mantras. But I did my own cervical check and I still wasn't dilating. And I was like, I just don't know. I just don't know how to read this. I don't know how to know when I'm really going into labor. And it was a funny evening because I actually said to my husband, I'm like, I feel like she'll be born today just because of the timing of everything. We had 2 calls scheduled in with potential clients. So for our new business, 2 potential clients booked in the next day. My mum was off to a movie that night. So she was already booked in, an hour and something away from our house to go to this movie and this dinner. And my midwife was going off for the weekend. So from 6 p.m. she was going off, and she was off at dancing, again, like an hour away from our house. So I just was like, oh, I don't know, everything just, my body seems really responsive to, there's pressure to give birth, versus that day I was like, I really, probably would prefer not to necessarily be giving birth today. We've got a lot going on. And then the other people, like, maybe they can't get here. And I think that's part of it is, well, my body was like not stressing that, I have to give birth tonight or anything like that. So the contractions just, it happened all day. I was working at 3 p.m. So at 3 p.m. I was working. My husband and I had spent the morning working together. I was helping him nut out what he was going to be saying in the meetings the next day. So we're doing that at 3 p.m. At 5 p.m., I realized that I didn't have any wraps. So I drove myself down the street, went shopping at the supermarket, which was really funny because I was having contractions like in the parking lot, and it was just really funny. So that was 5 p.m. and she was born at 8:39 p.m. that evening. But that's how much I was not sure. So even at 5 p.m. I was still like, I don't know, like I'm not going to keep myself housebound for 2 weeks, because I was only 38 weeks pregnant. Joseph had come at 39 weeks of pregnancy and Amelia had come at 40 weeks. So in my head I was like, well, this could go on for another week or two. Like, why? Why would I keep myself housebound and go, oh no, I'm going to have a baby? So I went out shopping. And so then I knew that my midwife was going off shift at 6 p.m. So I did give her a call and I was like, oh, look, I'm not really sure. I feel like it could be tonight, but not for any specific reason. Like nothing's happened yet that would indicate that it's tonight. I just feel like it's going to happen tonight. And so she ended up deciding that she would stay on call because she was concerned that none of the other midwives would get to me in time. So she said, look, I will leave my phone on, because they usually divert their phone to another midwife. So she said, look, I'll leave my phone on, and if anything happens, let me know. So that was 6 p.m. and about 7 p.m. I messaged her and I said, I've had to vocalize just a little bit through the last few contractions. There was just that little change. So I remember feeling like a bit more pressure in the front of my tummy. So right in the front, I felt a bit of pressure and I went, oh, like just that little bit of vocalizing. It wasn't through the whole contraction, and it wasn't my really intense vocalizing, which if you watched any of my other birth videos, you'll know, like I'm really loud, I'm really vocal. It wasn't like that, but it was just that little bit different. So I was like, that's different. So I messaged her and I said, I vocalized through a couple of contractions. I'm just going to monitor it. And so my contractions standing up had been every 2 minutes, like they were coming really fast. And as soon as I laid down, they totally stopped back to 5-minute breaks. And usually that's an indication that if you change position and your contractions slow down significantly, that you're not in active labor. That's just like a typical kind of thing. So if you're laying down and they're trying to establish labor, they'll get you to stand up and try and be active and see if they can kick things into gear. So again, mentally I was like, oh, okay, like this is just halved the amount of contractions I'm having. Maybe tonight's not the night. So I decided I was going to monitor it, but because the contractions were only coming every 5 minutes, I literally said to myself, I think I want to call the midwife. I think I'm going to get her here. I'd already been messaging her anyway, so I'd already been updating her via text message, but I was like, I'm just going to monitor 3 contractions. And if I monitor 3 contractions and, something changes or it still feels this way, then I'll give her a call. And because they were 5 minutes apart, that was 15 minutes. And I think I called her. Did I call her? I might have messaged her. I think I messaged her about 7:30. And by 7:45, that was the 3rd contraction. And I was like, yeah, look, I was thinking I'm going to call her. And the next contraction, my waters broke. So at which point I did immediately get her on the phone. And it immediately just ramps up. That seems to be the trigger for me, is my waters are broken. And that I went from, I'd done my own cervical check and I was not dilating. And a couple of hours later, I was giving birth. So dilation is so fascinating because I'm still interested. I know that it doesn't really tell me anything about where my birth is up to, and I'm still really fascinated by it. So that's just a little side note. So anyway, my waters broke at 7:50 p.m, I believe, and she was born at 8:39 p.m, so it was 49 minutes. And my midwife got here just in time. She got here 3 contractions before Eleanor was born. But my mum actually missed the birth this time. She needed those extra 15 minutes. She came in about 10 minutes late. And yeah, so that was disappointing for her, but it was what it was. But the lovely thing was that my sister Sarah actually was here this time. She had missed Joseph's birth because she was in America. And so that was really lovely. So I'm really, really excited to share the birth footage with you guys, but it's like a black screen because once my waters broke, everything happened so fast. I was in a different room because my nephew, so my twin sister and her son had actually come over. He's 11 months old. He's 11 months old, and he was asleep in the birthing room. So he was asleep in the room that we had set up for birthing because I still wasn't even convinced I was going to give birth that night. So I was giving birth in a room that I had not planned to give birth in. There was no lighting. There was like hardly any room. It was really weird and cramped. And so like the video, Steve just set the camera up in a corner and he's like, I don't know what it's recording, but it is recording something. So we had like a little lamp so you can kind of see Sarah's shoulder in the video. And the most hilarious part of all of it is that you can hear, the audio is quite good, you can hear what's happening. But right when my midwife arrived, she was trying to see, so she's grabbed the lamp and put it down next to my legs. So me with my modest birth videos where I'm like trying not to show anyone anything, all I've got footage of, the only footage that you can see from my entire birth video is a silhouette of my legs wide open with my midwife's head coming in and out of my legs looking at the baby. So that's hilarious. I laughed so much when I watched it back. I was like, of course, that's the only footage that I have of my birth. But it was really, really beautiful. Joseph was asleep, which was perfect because he was exhausted. He's 2.5 or 2 years and 8 months. But Amelia was awake and she was so excited. And the really nice thing is it was the same midwife that delivered Amelia. So Amelia was sitting on the bed next to the midwife that had delivered her 5.5 years ago, and watching Eleanor be born. And it was really, really special. So I'm really, really excited. This is kind of just a sneak peek. I will dive more into my birth story, and I've got to figure out what to do with that footage. I don't know if I just do a transcription of it. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe I'll do a raw version and a fancier version. I don't know. But it's not as easy as my other birth videos. But that is kind of the sneak peek. I really appreciate you guys following along with my journey and being excited for us and praying for us. It's just amazing to have this community. So thank you guys so much for your love and your support and your prayers, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future. I don't know how many videos or when I'll be releasing videos because the business is just taking off. It's really, really exciting. We have got an insane end of year ahead of us. I don't know that I will make another video before the end of the year. Yeah, we've got a big end of year coming up, and we need to be focused on getting our clients results. We are in marketing, we've got to focus on their results. So that is where we'll be putting our efforts and just adoring these cute little children, loving on Amelia and Joseph and Eleanor. So thank you guys so much, and I pray that you have a wonderful end to the year. Wonderful Christmas when it gets here, which it will get here so quickly. And I will see you next time. If you are new here, hit subscribe and you'll get notified when I do release a video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.
Not that I have a belly. Let's put the baby there. There we go. There's our belly shot.